Okay, so price. So consumers usually have the mindset that the higher the prices of a certain product, the better quality the product is. Some businesses take advantage of this, the ones that are after short term profit. But usually, the businesses that do provide good quality products usually charge high price for it. Because if they don't, they would create a confusion in the mind of their customers. Okay, meaning they wouldn't trust that the product is good quality because its price is not high. So it establishes something we call quality image. So if you want your business to be known for good quality, which is good quality image, then you should have a price that reflects that quality. So they're usually intertwined and they're made as one major decision. And this is the main link that I could make to product as the another element of the marketing mix. So by looking at any of these businesses that I've listed here, you will notice that there is one thing common between them, and that is that they provide good quality goods and their prices are usually higher. Okay. So, how do businesses make a decision about pricing? How do they approach it? Meaning, if I create my own business and I create my own product, how do I know that I should charge a high price or a low price? Well, it depends on some factors. The main factor is level of competition, one. Two, what image do you want your product to reflect, right? And third, what is the cost that went into producing the product? So, how much money did it cost you? Obviously, you would take that into consideration. And also, how unique and special your product is, or how good quality it is. And what image do you want your product to reflect? Well, based on those factors, some businesses decide on market skimming, we call it, which is when the product is, now you look at the graph, the yellow graph, initially, so you can take on the x axis, you either have quantity or time. So let's say initially when the quantity you're selling is low, or you just launched the product, the price that you set initially, first point, is high. The price is going to be high. Um, okay, what happens after a while is that other businesses might decide that they're going to mimic or copy your idea if there is no patent or copyright on it. So they would create similar products. So gradually, the market's competition level would go up, which forces you to reduce your your price gradually. So with more sales or with more time, you would gradually reduce your selling price. The reason is that you're forced to by the dynamics of the market. If you don't and keep that high price, then you are going to lose sales. You might be able to sell some, but it's not going to be enough because your competitors who recently joined the market would have lower prices than you. And they do have lower prices than you because they want to compete with you, because you were the first business who made that unique product. A good example for this would be Google Glasses, which were very recently launched. They were expensive to buy initially, but now more and more businesses are copying the same idea. So consumers have more options. So with time, Google would be forced to lower their prices. The same thing happens with any product that is in a competitive market. Uh, Gradually, the market becomes competitive. So PlayStation would be another good example. Their products initially would be expensive, but gradually you can buy them for lower prices until they are become obsolete. They're not sold anymore. Cell phones are another good example. Apple wants their phones to be known for good quality. They want to be respected, but they're also forced by all the competitors that they have. So with time, they gradually are going to reduce their prices because any new feature that might exist in their new version might be copied by their competitor, Samsung. Okay, so that's market skimming. If you have any questions, let me know. Another pricing method, the second one, is we call it penetration pricing. This method is used by businesses that create new products, but those products are not unique in themselves. They already exist in the market, meaning they're made by competitors, and your product is not as special, more special than the products that currently exist. So, and usually when you have markets that are dominated by big players, big businesses, in order for you to be able to enter that market, you will have to have low prices initially.
Also,
Sorry, did you have any question? Okay, so the red line shows penetration pricing, which is initially low, but it's going up with time or with quantity sold. So the more I go into the future, the more I will increase the price. The reason for this is this. So let's take Nokia, for example. The market for cell phones, smartphones, are currently dominated by Apple and Samsung with their Galaxy and iPhone cell phones. So, in order for Nokia, because they were late comers to the market, they launched their smartphones way after those two companies, those two businesses. So, consumers usually trust them less when it comes to a smartphone because, as I said, those two businesses have market leadership. Okay, so Nokia, what they do is, even though this is the newest version, Nokia 9. So even though it's as good, if not better than those two cell phones, they're selling each for close to $500 now, even though it was recently launched. So compare that to the 1400, 1300 selling price of the newest version of iPhone 11. It's a very substantial difference, and they're doing it for that reason. This is the hope. So how can, the question becomes, Nokia gradually increase prices? How are they able to do this? Well, sorry, the hope is once people are given the incentive of buying the phones because they're cheap, so they're given the expensive factor as an incentive. My phone is less expensive, way less expensive. So a lot of consumers have price as a consideration. So they would end up buying the Nokia phones, not the two other types of cell phones, because of that price factor. Okay, now more people do make the same kind of decision. They buy the cell phones, they try it out, they actually use it, and they tell people that this new Nokia phone is as good, if not better than iPhone and Galaxy. So, through the word of mouth, more people end up switching to buying more Nokia. So when more people make this decision, Nokia is able to gradually, once those customers become loyal to Nokia, increase their selling price. Okay? So I call that strategy penetration pricing. Okay. So this toothpaste, it's a very special type of toothpaste. Um, and it's a unique type of product, but it's coming to a market that is already saturated by other businesses. It's not too special. So and Colgate uh, uh, is, to name one, is one of those businesses that is currently dominating the toothpaste market. So what Anchor has to do is to have lower prices initially and have people switch to it, buy it. Once they see it's as good as Sensodyne or Colgate, then they become loyal to Anchor. Then they would be able to increase their prices gradually. Okay, so let me see if I have any questions in the chat room. Uh, Yeah, that's a good question. I mean, yeah, you do have a lot of people who make that consideration, but you also have people who have price as the main consideration as well. So that's the hope. You're targeting the people who have low income but do want a smartphone, a good smartphone. So basically, Nokia would be their only option. So your hope is that those people become your agents, and they do buy it, and they do tell other people about your product, and you do encourage other people to buy it.
And see his video, she's unbelievable, and I was like, wow, she's amazing. You're doing these moves crazy. And
Yeah.
this move with the eye.
Yes, you got it.
What is that move? Yeah. You did that, and I go, yeah, this girl's fantastic. I go,
thank you.
and then I go, somebody goes, that's Maddie from Dance
I
Moms.
know.
I'm like, whoa,
I know.
what?
I know. It's
Let me
weird,
watch
right?
it again.
I know people didn't recognize me at first, but what was the coolest experience for me was, I mean, that video changed my life forever. And then now people started recognizing me and being like, "Oh, you're in Chandelier," and I was like, "That's the coolest feeling," because people got so confused. They're like, "Is that Maddie from the show, or is that Maddie from
different chapters?"
Can I ask you to mute your audio, please? Okay, so third method of pricing is, we call it competitive pricing. This is when the market is not dominated by any particular business and level of competition is equal. So what you do is that you can't have a really higher price than your competitors. No one would buy your product if it's higher than any of the other products, similar products available in the market. So you have to follow the other businesses in terms of price. So usually for normal toothpaste, you would notice that their selling price is very, very similar if it's not special. So it's a market like that. That's a good example. Pasta is another good example. Most people wouldn't care about quality. So the prices are very, very similar in a certain range, because that market is competitive. You have a lot of businesses operating in it, and the product is not, none of the products provided by the business is any special. So people would have price as the main consideration in that case. Then you have to have a similar price to your competitors. Usually that price is determined by the market. Uh, Businesses notice that other businesses have that selling price, so they would follow. Okay, so the businesses that usually determine price are called, they have price leadership. So they are the first one that entered the market. They set the prices, everybody follows, so everybody has the same selling price now. Okay, and some businesses could have competitive pricing when they used to have price skimming or penetration pricing, and it's not working for them anymore. It's been 10 years of businesses producing cell phones. Now they're all the same. Now the competition is level. In that case, you have to follow each other's prices. Okay, so that's competitive pricing. This one, promotional pricing, is not having a fixed price. You change it based on the circumstances. For example, when I want to increase sales, or when I want to attract new customers to my product and make them loyal, I lower my prices for a limited time period. So for a week, I will have way lower prices than my competitors, whatever my pricing strategy is. The hope is that you attract, as I said, new customers to your customer base, and they become loyal as a result of these offers that you provide them. Okay, a technique that is used, which is part of promotional pricing, is called loss leader. So loss leader is a technique that is mostly used by supermarkets, and it works this way. You have small, inexpensive items, and you're selling them next to big, expensive ones. So what you do is that you put like 90% even discount on these inexpensive small items, and you put these next to the big expensive ones. What that does is that it attracts people to your store. Once they see that sign that says 90% discount, which you did not specify, they come into the store and they're exposed to all these expensive items that they have more chance to end up buying as a result of this technique, which we call loss leader. And you could also use BOGOV, buy one, get one free, and you could provide discounts, temporary discounts. Loyalty cards is another example. And they're all part of promotional pricing. Remember, it's not a fixed method, and the idea is that you change the price based on who the customer is and what you want to achieve. Meaning, do you want to increase your customer loyalty and so on? So that was number 4. Number 5 is called cost plus pricing. Okay. Usually it's used by retailers. Retailers means businesses that resell other businesses' product. For example, you have a store and you're selling clothes or shoes or watches. So what you do is that you add a markup price. So if you look at this picture over here, you would understand what the markup means. So let's say the cost is you buying one watch for $1, let's say. You resell it for $1.50. So your markup is 50 cents. You add that 50 cents to the cost. Now your selling price is the markup and the cost. So the final selling price would be 150. 50 cents markup, $1 cost. And that's how it works. As I said, it's mainly used by businesses that resell their products. And even manufacturers, they would calculate how much total cost goes into making all their products, and they would divide it by how many items they have and sell. So I can write down the formula, even though it's not provided in your book, this way. So it is total cost of all items made divided by number of items. And that would be equal to unit cost. Okay, that would be your unit cost. So what you do then, you add a margin. You add a margin to it, and then it would be equal to your selling price. So that's a good method to calculate your selling price. Okay, to understand this last concept, I would advise you to look at your book right now and go to page 175. There you have an example to a business who is using markup cost plus pricing. Sorry, cost plus pricing. So let's say the cost is $8 and the business has decided themselves that they're going to add 150% markup. So the calculation is this: 8 plus 150% multiplied by 8. You add it to your cost, it's equal to 20. That 20 is your selling price. So you just added 150% markup to your cost, which was $8. Okay. Now, an activity that I want you to do as homework is 12.6 on page 173. Tell me which pricing method do you think is suitable for each of these businesses. Let me explain the first one for you and then do the rest yourself. So there's a business that they launch a new chocolate bar by a leading manufacturer. So I know that the business is a luxury business and they're making a new type of chocolate and it's luxurious. So I would say price skimming in this case would be good, but you have to justify yourself. Why? Well, since it's unique and new and you want to make people think that the chocolate bars are really luxurious, you will have to have high price for them. Okay, you could also say penetration pricing, since chocolates are not too special. You can make that argument as well. It depends on how you justify yourself. If the market is too competitive and the chocolate is not very different from the ones that are already available by other businesses, then maybe competitive pricing. Maybe penetration if the market is dominated by other chocolate manufacturers, you know? So any of these could work, but it depends on your justification for it. Okay, so that's all for today. If you don't have any questions, we're done.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you, sir.